Good morning, good afternoon to everybody. Today we discuss a number of important issues: Belarus, Libya, and African Union in particular, apart from many other current business, among them Venezuela. Before the Council, the ministers had the opportunity of receiving Ms. Tsikhanouskaya, the leader of the Belarusian opposition, was not in the council, but on the merge of the country before it started in a breakfast where we had the opportunity to be briefed about the situation in this country. Then in the meeting, we discussed about it, and the ministers sent a strong signal: we do not recognize Lukashenko's legitimacy as a result of a process, a result of elections that we consider falsified. As clear as that. We consider these elections falsified, we don't recognize the result, and so we don't recognize Lukashenko's legitimacy. And we are stressing our solidarity with the people of Belarus, their democratic aspirations, and their call for a new, free and fair elections under the OSCE supervision. And we have extremely impressed by the determination and perseverance of the Belarusian people, despite this brutal and increasingly lawless repression, something that we have never seen for years. Belarusians stand firm in their peaceful demands, in spite of the thousands of people detained and tortured, demand for the respect of their basic human and political rights. We stand firm in our support for a free and democratic choice by Belarusian people of their leader and their country's future. In the talk this morning and in the breakfast, it was clear, and we expressed, that we don't have a hidden agenda. We do not seek to interfere in the internal affairs of the country. We just want to support people who are asking to have a political system that allow them to elect their rulers. We only ask for national dialogue on how to resolve the current crisis and for free and fair elections. And for sure, we support the sovereignty and independence of Belarus. And we call to all partners of Belarus not to interfere in Belarus' internal affairs, because it's the people of Belarus who has to decide their future. Ministers discussed the sanctions issue, and although there is a clear will to adopt those sanctions, it has not been possible to do that today because the required unanimity was not reached. And the issue will have to be considered by the heads of state and governments at the European Council later this week for their political guidance. We have also discussed the review of our overall relations with Belarus and further financial support to the civil society and independent media. On Libya, I briefed the Council of my visit to Libya, both to Tripoli and Tobruk, and also to Egypt, where the most important part of my visit was devoted to the situation in Libya and the Egyptian approach to this problem. It's clear that the latest development, and especially the ceasefire, gives a window of opportunity to advance on what we see as the three main priorities that we have in Libya. First is to reach a permanent and sustainable ceasefire agreement. The ceasefire agreement is there. Let's see if it is sustainable. And the UN-led 5+5 joint military committee negotiations are the right framework for this. Second, to mobilize all our efforts to fully lift the oil blockade across Libya. Since the beginning of the year, the oil blockade has cost to Libya more than $10,000 million. Just compare this big figure with the amount of our help, which is counted on tens of, in the best of the case, some $100 million. The country is losing its resources, and at the same time they are lacking electricity and water in the main cities. The political dialogue is the third of our objective. We agreed to step up our efforts for the resumption of the political dialogue in the framework of the Berlin process. In the meantime, Operation Irene continues to contribute the implementing of UN arms embargo in a tangible way. We are not doing everything needed, but nobody is doing more than the European Union on that side. On September the 10th, Operation Irene, a German frigate of the Operation Irene, inspected and diverted a vessel transporting military fuel in violation of the embargo. This vessel was seized and brought to a port, and the carcassonne, the load of the ship, was confiscated. This demonstrates Irene's capacity to act effectively. We also have our own restrictive measures. Today, new listings were adopted. 2 persons involved in human rights abuses and 3 entities which were involved in violating the UN arms embargo. At the same time, there is an agreement on the delisting of Akila Saleh and Nouri Abu Shamain. This proves how can we use our sanctions regime from a strategic point of view. Then we went to our relations with the African Union. The coronavirus restrictions has been slowing down our outreach efforts, but not our ambition to move our partnership to the highest possible level. We have to use the coming weeks to agree on joint priorities that should pave our cooperation for the next decade. I think it is important to continue focusing on tangible deliverables in the spirit of a Team Europe approach. We will continue our discussion on how to step up relations with Africa at the informal meeting of development ministers next week. As you know, the summit and the ministerial meeting of the Foreign Affairs Council has been delayed, I am afraid, until next year. I want also to inform you about some current affairs, mainly on Venezuela. I debriefed the Council on the decisions taken by the International Contact Group and also of my contacts between or with the government and the opposition during the summer and until last week. And the Council unanimously supported the decision of the International Contact Group to continue this negotiation in order to look for the possibility of an election that could be observed by our missions. This is not the case right now. The conditions are not met, but we still believe there is a window of opportunity. We don't know. The position is divided. Some of them are still thinking on these possibilities. Others believe this possibility doesn't exist anymore. In any case, in order to send an electoral observation mission, the schedule of the election should be reviewed because we need 5-6 months before the elections take place in order to participate as observers. and we will continue reaching out with the government and both parts of the opposition to see on how we can be useful for a peaceful and democratic transition in Venezuela. In Russia, we have been analyzing the results of the medical search by the Germans, hospitals, and again a call for an urgent international investigation of the poisoning of Mr. Navalny in full transparency and cooperation with the OPCW. We will have a comprehensive discussion on Russia next month. And we also considered Lebanon, China, and Turkey. We had a short exchange of view. There are some positive steps, but they extended a new NAVTEX, navigational telegram, extending the drilling and exploratory operations in Cyprus waters are regrettable, and this will be the main issue to deal with at the forthcoming European Council, where I will inform of the debate of the Foreign Affairs Council. Well, I think this is all.
Yes, thank you very much, High Representative. Now we take a few questions before High Representative